What's up, all you lovely people? Thanks for clicking on another video. As 2022 comes to a close here in its final days, it's finally time for me to do my 2022 rankings. So stick around.
You're afraid of dying.
How do you know? You've never tried it before.
All right, you already saw the title of the video. This is going to be my top 5 favorite horror movies of 2022. And before we jump into that, 2 things. First, if you could please like, subscribe. It really does help me out. Makes it a lot easier to make more content. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, obviously, this is going to be opinion-based. This is what I liked in 2022. I may have something as my favorite that you had on your worst 5 list. It's all opinion-based. If you don't like a movie I've got on there, cool. Tell me why you didn't like it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you thought was wrong with it. Or if it was just that you like something else more. Put your list down in the comments and I'd love to have a discussion about it. But in terms of the video, this is my 5 top favorites and this is my opinion. So let's not get all angry and upset because your list didn't coincide with my list. So it's opinion based. And with that, let's jump in. All right, at number 5, I've got Scream 5. Now, I'm going to start by saying I did think before I saw it that this movie would be a lot higher on the list. I know a lot of people like it less and less upon further viewings. I don't share that thought. I'd still like it as much as I did when I first saw it. I just didn't like it as much as I expected to like it. With that being said, I think it's a very worthy entry into the Scream franchise. It was kind of a return of the prodigal son, in my opinion. It had been 11, 12 years since we got a Scream movie, and just getting to go back to the theater and see Ghostface and hear Roger L. Jackson's buttery, scary voice, it was just amazing to me. And it's a big franchise. It's got a lot to contend with. And I think it was a worthy sequel, a worthy entry. And there are several big franchises that came out this year that the entries can't say the same thing. So with all that, number 5, I've got Scream 5. All right, and at number 4, I've got X. Now, X, obviously directed by Ty West, kind of came out of nowhere for me. I had seen a trailer and I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll check it out. Did not prepare me at all for what I was going to watch, and I loved it. The atmosphere, the cinematography, the wide shots, just the setting, everything about it was wonderful, in my opinion. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Ty West, if you're watching, which I know you probably never will, you need to do the next Texas Chainsaw movie, because if you like the atmosphere and the feel of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, this is kind of a new age version of that in a good way. Like, there's obviously new age versions of things that don't pan out well, but this had the feel of the 70s. It had the feel of that Texas grittiness. It was just an amazing movie, in my opinion. And with that being said, at number 4, I've got X. All right, moving right along. At number 3, I've got a movie that I haven't seen on a lot of people's top lists. However, it does make mine, and that's going to be Hellraiser. That's right, the modern retelling of Hellraiser. It's a modern retelling of Clive Barker's. It's not a sequel. That's why I say modern retelling. It's just a new version of Clive Barker's original Hellbound Heart novella. So a lot of people had issues with it for one reason or another before they even saw it. I'm going to disregard those because it was, in my opinion, a great movie. And it was made even greater by the fact that our expectations, at least mine, were so low because of the last 3 or 4 Hellraiser sequels have been just, I'll say it nicely and say they were misses. They missed the mark by a lot. So having this come out and be good and then look even better by comparison was great. And one of the highlights for me, Pinhead. This is the first time that I've seen a good Pinhead that wasn't Doug Bradley. And that's saying something, because this is Doug Bradley's character. He even said in part 2, when he had to do some scenes where he played Pinhead prior to being transformed, that someone else had to be in the makeup so they could do those shots where it's Doug Bradley with Pinhead. And he even said, like, he felt so protective of the character that he didn't like seeing someone else in the makeup. Even he praised Jamie Clayton as Pinhead, and she killed this role. And one of the problems people had was that, oh, Pinhead's a woman now. Well, in the original Vela, Pinhead wasn't a man or a woman. It was an entity. It was genderless. So the fact that Jamie Clayton came in kind of annoyed a lot of people. I loved it. She did great. She looked great. She sounded great. The design of the Cenobites switched up from the leather-clad, look that they had to this more of like a filleted flesh being opened. And I thought it looked amazing. The design was really good, in my opinion. And I'm just super excited from where they could go from here. They definitely brought the franchise back on track, in my opinion. So at number 3, I've got Hellraiser. All right, getting close to the top. At number 2, we've got another movie that kind of came out of nowhere for me, and that's The Black Phone with Ethan Hawke. I don't know. I don't have many bad things to say about this movie. I'm going to say this a lot, but atmosphere. I think atmosphere is so important in horror movies, and Black Phone does it. It gives this, like, it just makes you feel uneasy. The performance by Ethan Hawke, his look, the mask that changes depending on his mood, even the cuts that they do, like the transitions. There's some wild ones in the movie, and they're all so effective at just giving you this uneasy feeling. And I mean, it was just a great movie, in my opinion. I legitimately got creeped out during the movie, and some, like, by little things too, like the fact that when the kids called, the longer it had been since they were killed, the more they forgot. And I think one kid said on the phone, like, that's the first thing you forget is your name, is like who you were. And it's just it just gave me such a more uneasy feeling. I don't know how else to explain it, but it was just odd. And how it ended with everything, like, everyone's performance was great. It just overall was an amazing movie, in my opinion. So at number 2, I've got Black Phone. All right, y'all, I'm going to do 2 honorable mentions, just 2. I've seen people do like a top 5 list and have another 5 honorable mentions and just make a top 10 list at that point. For me, it's 2 honorable mentions. Number 1, it's going to be Nope. Jordan Peele, everything he touches turns to gold. Doesn't surprise me that he was going to make it onto this list. It's a movie that the more I watch, the more I can find and the more I like it. So if I had watched this 5 or 6 more times, it might have cracked the top 5. But with what I've seen it now, it's still an amazing movie, and it's an honorable mention. All right, my second honorable mention is going to be Smile with Sosie Bacon. Now, I was a little bit worried about this movie because of the trailer and the visuals. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that terrible Truth or Dare movie that just basically used a Snapchat filter to make people look odd and have that weird distorted smile. So my expectations were pretty low because of that. What I got was so great by comparison. Now, the reason it didn't crack top 5 for me is I felt it, honestly, and this could get me a little bit hot water, but I felt it really just kind of copied the movie It Follows that came out a few years ago, which was an amazing movie. It Follows was great. I feel like this movie pretty much just ripped off that entire thing, and you just changed like 1 or 2 elements to make it feel new, but really it's just kind of the same movie. Now, I don't fault that. At this point, telling an original idea is pretty hard. You're going to tell a new idea with your voice, and that's what a lot of movies do, and they're great at it. I just felt Smile copied it a little bit too much. So even with that, an amazing movie, and that's why it's on my list as a honorable mention. All right, everyone, we're at the top of the mountain. My favorite horror movie of 2022, and it's going to surprise a ton of people, but it was Bed Rest with Melissa Ferrera. Couldn't even do that with a straight face. Craving something scary, probably perked his head up somewhere like there's a disturbance. No, my number one horror movie of 2022 was Pearl. That's right, the prequel to X. I don't think it's ever been done where for a top 5 list could include one movie and its prequel. They came out the same year. X came out early this year. Toward the end of the year, we got Pearl. And Pearl knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. They're the same, it's a prequel, obviously, to X, but it had a different feel, but was equally as amazing. And I mean, even more so, obviously, if it's at number one. But the thing that stood out more to me is the way Mia Goth got to perform in this movie. Obviously, in X, she had to play Pearl as well as Maxine. But in this, she just got to be Pearl. We got to see how she got to the point in X, and she bodied this role, y'all. She did so good. Like, if I were to just say one reason why Pearl is great, I would literally just say Mia Goth. Oh, why is it so good? Mia Goth. You want to watch the movie? You should watch it for Mia Goth. She did so good. Like, here's the level of good in a performance that she did. In horror movies, obviously slashers, villains, whatever you want to call them, they kill people and we don't care. Obviously, if we care about the person they're killing, it does affect us a little bit, but on the whole, we're still going to go watch the movie. If a slasher or antagonist or villain kills an animal, usually we're like, come on now, don't do that. Like, we care more if they kill. Pearl was killing animals and we still not rooted for her, but we were still invested in her. We still felt a little bad for her. Like, and it was just also a bizarre feeling. Like, there was some odd stuff. It was kind of like you just couldn't look away, even when there's stuff where you really feel like you should look away. Like the scarecrow scene. And if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like, oh, this is odd. Like, what in the world? But you can't look away. The dad in the wheelchair during the bath scene. It just made you uneasy, but you couldn't take your eyes off of it. And that 6-minute monologue, y'all, it was over 6 minutes. And she just went through like every range of emotion and she killed it. She did so good. This is a movie I will watch multiple times a year, probably for like the rest of my life. It is so good just to watch that monologue. So that's it, y'all. That's my top 5 list. All right, all you lovely people, thank you so much for watching the video, especially if you're still watching at this point. If you could, once again, please leave a like, consider subscribing. It really does help me out, makes it a lot easier to make more content. There's going to be a couple other videos pop up on the screen here. If you like them, click on one of them. They might appeal to you. If not, I hope you have a lovely and safe day and have a happy new year. I love you all.